Long Island Backstory with Chief Correspondent Gary Jacobs.
Hi, I'm Gary Jacobs, President of Americans for Legal Reform. Today is June 26, 2025, and we're here at 400 Carlton Avenue, Central Islip, New York. Right now I'm in front of the Supreme Court building. Family Court building's off to the right. We're here today to protest Judge Karen Laguercio, also known as Lion Laguercio. The reason we're doing this is because one of our members, James Fiegel, is an avid court watcher, a big advocate for family court reform. And he was here a few months ago with his camera, as he has the right to be, in a public parking lot at a public building. And he was in the back and he saw Lion Laguercio getting out of her car, walking into the building. And as the chief judge, he decided to ask her a few questions. She's also a public elected official, as judges here on Long Island are elected, and he has the right to redress his government. So he went to ask her some questions, specifically about why the courtroom had been closed many times. Also, ironically, she happened to be late to work once again that day, and as she was walking in, he started asking her questions, which I guess she didn't like, and she ignored him, walked to the door. The door was locked, and she ended up going around front by herself and then came back. The next day, she went and filed a complaint against Jim Fiegel, demanding, actually, saying, I want this man arrested. So when a judge asks the police to arrest, I guess they just do it without looking into it. And they actually put a warrant out for him. I believe it was on disorderly conduct, could have been misdemeanors. And they charged him with following her. The district attorney's office chose to prosecute. He ended up hiring a lawyer, and he was given an order of protection. And of course, we know what that means. You can't go within 500 feet of the person's place of business. While being a judge, her place of business is right here, the courthouse. So they effectively, that was their way of silencing Jim Fiegel and keeping him away from the courthouse. This is not what our government is about. This is what they do in communist countries. Luckily, our district attorney, Ray Tierney, ended up hearing about the case, and he decided to drop the case and not prosecute. But in the meantime, Mr. Fiegel's rights were withheld from him for several months. He didn't have the right to bear arms. He wasn't allowed to protest at the courthouse, and he was effectively silenced for a few months, not to mention the fact that he had to spend thousands of dollars on an attorney and just the emotional distress of having your rights taken away. A lot of people might say, well, what's the big deal? It was a couple months, it was dropped. Well, I got to tell you, unless you have your constitutional rights as an American taken away, you don't know what it feels like. It's a bad feeling. You're on eggshells because all somebody needs to do is call in a violation and say, oh, I saw you drive by the courthouse. Next thing you know, it's an automatic arrest. So it is a horrible feeling. And we're here today to protest against this judge. She should not be on the bench. She literally lied, saying that Mr. Fiegel followed her. She knew he didn't break any laws, but she overstepped her bounds by doing that. And if this is what she would do to a member of the public just because she didn't like what he was doing, imagine what she does to litigants in her court that she doesn't like. This judge needs to step down. Of course, she's elected, so it's going to be hard to get her to force down, but she should be stepped down, and anybody who's in front of her should recognize you cannot trust this judge. I personally would ask for her to recuse herself on any case that I had before her, because we know that she's a liar, doesn't like protesters, and doesn't like dissent. So that's why we're here today. If you understand what we're going through and you've been abused by the court system, check out our website, AmericansForLegalReform.com. That's Americans, the number 4, LegalReform.com. We're the oldest legal reform group in the United States. And as we stand here today, we see people coming in all day long, all of them being abused by this court system. So I guess we have another guy right here is in the same situation as we are. So this is where justice is supposed to be served. But unfortunately, the last thing that you find in this place is justice. So thank everybody here today who's joining us for the protest. We appreciate you coming out. And again, if you want to get involved and do something for the change, come to Americans for Legal Reform.
Hello, good folks and citizens. My name's James Fiegel. I'm one of the organizers for this protest. I've been a victim of family court and Judge Karen Laguercio. She charged me with harassment, good folks. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, a member of this community, and I was facing jail time for something I didn't do. Thank God for the great district attorney. I want to first start off by thanking Long Island Audit, the great Sean Paul Reyes, who stood by me. He was a friend of mine, and he stood by me. I want to thank my, who has almost 1 million followers. I want to thank my attorney, Jacob Uriel, for standing up and doing a great job. I want to thank the great District Attorney, Ray Tierney. Mr. Tierney, thank you from the bottom of my heart for jumping in there and saving me from the aggravation that I was facing. I want to thank every member from American for Legal Reform. That group is something special. I want to thank Gary Jacobs, who's the president, a special person. I want to thank the great Carl Lanziera, who actually makes this world a better place to live in. Unfortunately, family court is broken. We know that through Thomas Valva. 11 reports from the brave school teachers, and that child dies in a cold garage. He was murdered in a cold garage, even though 11 reports. It's one of the reasons why I court watch, good folks. Children shouldn't have to suffer like that. And I appreciate everybody. There's other advocacy groups that came out here. It means the world. If you look around, there's over 50 people, and I appreciate that. There's other innocent, loving children that are suffering, and we need to stand up for them.
Hello, my name is James Kelly. I am a board member of Americans for Legal Reform. I run the Facebook group Cameras in Court Now, and I have produced a half-hour video on exactly the lies that Judge Ligursio has told and sworn to knowingly. That's a misdemeanor criminal offense to knowingly swear out a criminal complaint against somebody where it's been noticed to her on the document itself. The issue here isn't that Jim had to go through that, or that we're here protesting. The issue here is that Judge Karen Ligursio is the final arbiter. As trial court judge, she's the final arbiter of the record. And for her to knowingly lie, that I proved in that video, for her to knowingly lie, well, now she can turn around and create whatever narrative she wants with respect to the transcript and knowingly lie in the courtroom, and there's no video to catch her. We can't have this. We need to have independent cameras in the courtroom in order to validate the accuracy of these transcripts. All right, this goes to due process. I argue due process for cameras in the courtroom. The judges like to say, oh no, that's recording, that's a First Amendment right. Tell you what, let's split the difference. I'm gonna put this down for a second because the wind is getting hard. But I am gonna take out my cell phone, if I can find it. Now, this is something that I'm holding in my hand. It is something that I hold in my hand in defense of my rights not to be erroneously prosecuted by errors in the transcript. Okay? Now, under the Supreme Court decision of District of Columbia versus Heller, 2008, this is protected by the Second Amendment. And for those of you who would say, well, gee, electronic recording devices weren't around back at the time the Constitution was signed, go see Caetano versus Commonwealth of Massachusetts Supreme Court decision in 2016. So that doesn't hold water. And they love to avoid any kind of recording in their courtrooms. They will do anything to avoid it. I've had judges shut down buildings. I've had judges not show up. I've had judges run off the bench. I've even had judges go and do the foolish thing and remanding me. Judge Graff did that. That's now a case in the Eastern District of Court in the next courthouse. And of course, all of these judges know each other. So they don't want these arguments to get out. So with respect to this First Amendment arguments that the judges make, it's very simple. There's three analyses. The first is forum. Oh, gee, this isn't the forum inside a courtroom for recording. Well, the Second Amendment turns around and lays that to waste because I have the right to bear arms and my right shall not be infringed. Okay, then the next argument is, well, there's no reasonable time, place, and manner here. And my argument is the same. The Second Amendment trumps the reasonable time, place, and manner restriction on the First Amendment. That leaves us only the Shuttlesworth analysis. The Shuttlesworth analysis holds that You need to have a narrow, objective, and definite standard in order to infringe upon that and apply prior restraint. You cannot have prior restraint on procedural due process. Procedural due process in that you have the right to be heard based on evidence and witnesses to correct the transcript if the transcript is wrong. And when you only have lying judges like Lugercio that are up there as the final arbiter of the record, you need something to be able to refute that in actual evidence. And the reason that these judges hate what I'm doing is because incidental to preserving the accuracy of the record, there's the preservation of judicial errors, judicial misconduct, judicial high crimes, and judicial misdemeanors that they're afraid of. Let them be afraid. They need to be afraid. So, with that, there is a bill before the General Assembly of New York in both the Senate and the Assembly for cameras in the courtroom. It is a bad bill. It is a Trojan horse, and what it would do is it would codify the absolute discretion of these judges not to allow recording. You don't need a bill. You don't need a law. What you do need is the courage to go in and stand in front of them and be arrested if necessary. All right? Don't take the arguments as I've laid them out here as gospel. I'm not an attorney. I don't claim to be an attorney for anybody other than myself. However, go put it to your attorney. Go ask your attorney where I'm wrong. Grill them. Any attorney, I don't care. And let's see what they have to say about it. They're going to come around and say, well, New York State Civil Rights Law Section 52 makes it a crime, a Class A misdemeanor. Great. The only applicable charge is New York State Penal Code Section 215.50 sub 3, which would be a Class A misdemeanor. Problem is, that's second-degree criminal contempt. A New York State Judicial Law Section 758 sub 6 sentence 2 prohibits judges from having the power of contempt for a depiction or publication of a true, accurate, and complete description of what occurs in the courtroom. That's what a recording is. The New York State Court of Appeals has upheld this in the case of the People, ex rel Barnes versus Court of Sessions of the County of Albany, 1895. It's well before there was electronic recording, back when people took stenographic notes. Now electronic recording is more accurate. And the stenographers would argue that, well, gee, they're not as accurate as a stenographer, because a stenographer can read the lips and hear the directionality. Well, with the 3D technology that we have today, with 360-degree cameras and 360-degree recording, that argument's in the wind. And the reality is, I've walked into courtrooms and I've published the recordings and the corrected transcripts to show that the transcript generated by the stenographers are not accurate either. So, admittedly, if you've got little ticks like Leo, Judge Leo here, on it, I don't care about those. But if there's a substantive error that can make a difference in the case, those need to be corrected. And unless you have an actual recording, you have no way of making that correction, especially against a judge that would lie as the final arbiter of the record. This needs to end. Judge Karen Lugercio is not fit to sit on the bench. She needs to be prosecuted and removed. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gary Jacobs, president of Americans for Legal Reform. I got involved in legal reform because I went through a contentious divorce over 15 years ago now, but I was in the court for 10 years. It destroyed my family, and although my ex-wife was mentally ill and verbally abusive, not a great mother, she decided to become an alienator to get an upper hand in the court. And although, of course, I blame her, and she's going to have to deal with what she did to our children, but I blame the court system for allowing this to happen. Corrupt, biased, incompetent judges, like Judge Marion McNulty, allowed it to happen. The chief judge allowed it to happen. I had a horrible law guardian. I shouldn't even say allowed it to happen. They actually encouraged it to happen because they did nothing about it. So people learn if they can get away with this over and over again. It was actually a winning strategy for my ex-wife because at the end of the day, although she didn't get full custody of my children, she ended up getting the kids. She alienated them and got her half of her equitable distribution. At the end of the day, what happened? The lawyers got rich. The judges all had a job, and the system is broken. And I decided that after I got out, I was going to do whatever I could to tell my story and to let other people tell their story about the corrupt system because it needs to change, and we need to have the presumption of shared parenting, and judges need to be held accountable. So if anybody wants to get involved, please join us at Americans for Legal Reform, and our website is Americans4legalreform.com. We're the oldest legal reform group in the United States, and I'm proud to have been the president for the last 7 years. Thank you, everybody, and good luck in court. Stay out. It's a nightmare in that system.
Yes, Gary, I just want to thank you for being the president, continuing the torch, and carrying on. Jim Fiegel on the other side on Family Court for carrying on daily. They hate him. He found out, he realized that they don't come to work on time. Imagine coming to work at 10 o'clock and you're sitting in the courtroom waiting with a lawyer, $500 an hour, waiting for the judge to get his or her coffee at Starbucks. There's one judge even works at the local college teaching, so he's getting 2 government checks for the same period of time. Any way they could steal, they will. The idea is if you become a judge, to figure out a scam or join a scam. Right now, the judges just received a $15,000 a year pay increase, some $240,000 a year, plus vacation days, plus personal business days, plus sick days, and they received $240,000. The judge that got the $15,000 raise for all the judges in New York State, what did they do to say thank you? They gave his wife a judgeship. Judge, what is her name? Susan Berlin just became a judge. She can only handle parking tickets. She doesn't have the brains to handle anything more complicated than a parking ticket. She has 6 government officials assisting her. How much money is that costing us? They're thieves, they're stealing from you, you're working, and they're getting the benefit. God bless all these poor people that have to go to court. I, unfortunately, am finished with over 50 years ago. Can you believe that? Wow.
Hi, my name is Tracy Diffley. I'm a victim of here in family court, and it's outrageous. My rights have completely been stripped away from me. I'm a victim of domestic violence. My ex-husband happens to be a lawyer here in New York, and they give him privy over anything. So he has 5 arrests. Once for me, and the 5th time assaulting our child, and same thing, violently throwing him across the room. And he has custody. He has been able to have access, even though there's orders of protections have always been placed for my children. I still had to force my children to see their abuser. Now to the point my children are brainwashed. I haven't seen my baby since he's 10 years old. He is now 14. He is not thriving in the father's custody. There's no educational neglect. My child has missed almost 400 days of school since being in the father's custody. But yet his file is sealed and he's a law-abiding citizen. These judges, there's orders in place. There's an order for visitation and for reunification, but these judges aren't following their own orders. So there's a huge problem. There's an order for 5 years now that nobody's following. And who does it cost? Me, to retain lawyers for $500-600 an hour, fighting another lawyer like Catherine Kasanoff case. This is outrageous. Our due process has been taken away. Our rights of not even being able to have transparency in these courts, of being able to record, are stripped away from us. And people are being arrested for simply attempting to record. It has to come to a stop. There's no other position in the world you have so important and children and parents' lives at stake, and you do the same thing. You rinse and repeat. You're allowed to destroy people's lives and children's lives and do the same thing because there's no judicial accountability. We can go to the Second Appellate Division, we can go to the Ethics Committee, we can go to the Bar Association. It doesn't matter. They are part of the problem, people. There needs to be more oversight, and that is the bottom line. So meanwhile, I have to wait for that phone call whether my child took his own life out of suicide or the father finally took my child's life, and what did it take? I've made the courts aware that he's a violent attorney, felon, but they ignore it. So where is the judicial accountability, especially for someone of a higher status? You would think they hold him. They turn a blind eye to a fellow member of the bar. It has to come to stop, and it's the most saddest thing to watch your child disintegrate. My judge here in Suffolk County, Long Island, is Judge Alfred Charles Graff. The attorney for children is Karen Villar, with a deplorable reputation, and she has the nerve to tell me domestic violence didn't happen, as I'm showing police reports and my beaten body. Shame on these two cronies that are paired up together, and this is Judge Graff's friend. We have to get these attorney for children that profiting over $250 an hour per child on their side practice too, at the victim expense. It has to end.
I'm Don Caulfield. I've been part of Americans for Legal Reform for quite some time now. I've been to court for other people, and I see what goes on here. As they say, it's a big piggy bank. These judges should be prosecuted for what they do, and they have a way of getting around it. Why should we get prosecuted for doing the right thing when they don't get prosecuted? They should treat everybody fairly. And if they don't, they should get the same thing. Ray Tierney should prosecute them as well and put them behind bars. Thank you.
Santino Tomeno, and these judges need to be held accountable. What's going on is outrageous. I was incarcerated for 9 months and lost $3 million, all because of what a judge wanted to be overpowerful, and it was totally outrageous. I've done nothing wrong, and I was incarcerated. There has to be changes. Look what they've done to Donald Trump, our president. It's a total outrage. What we need to do is have these judges where they could be sued and thrown out and off the benches. It's an outrage. Thank you. The judges are bullying the people, as you see. It's an outrage. They have this too much power. There's nothing oversight of these judges. Someone has to hold them accountable, because what they've done to Donald Trump, what they've done to all these people here, and me, myself, and others, is a total outrage. Thank you, and bless all of you for being here. God bless ALR.
How you doing? My name is Mike Houlihan, Houlihan. I'm a victim of Karen Lagercio. I beat her in court. I won custody of my sons. But during that process, I've noticed a pattern. I'm a retired New York City police officer. She takes the kids away from the loving parent and gives the kid to the abuser. My son was taken away from me, only one of them. They split my sons up. They were schoolmates, they were wrestling partners, they were roommates in my house, they were best friends. And to teach me a lesson, Karen Lagercio took one of my sons away, the weaker one, and my son almost died. My wife brutally attacked my son. And we have a group of kids here that I've been working effortlessly to find victims of Karen Lagercio, and they call themselves the Courageous Kids of Suffolk County. They're covering their masks because they don't want any retaliation against them. Hopefully they'll speak today and explain how they were victims of Karen Lagercio, how they were put into abusive situations because of her. She should be in jail, and hopefully Ray Tierney sees this. You said that no one's above the law. You met with the Republican Party in Brentwood, and you brought up that you were going to change the family court system. That was the very first thing that you brought up. I don't know why that was the very first thing you talked about, but obviously you know there's a major problem. Don't let us do your job, Ray Tierney. You do your job. We have the victims, and do it. The FBI is well aware of what's going on here. The Department of Justice is very well of what's going on here. Don't let our kids of Suffolk County be abused. These lawyers are making money. On top of that, Orion Reisman, my wife's lawyer, threatened to shoot me with a handgun. When asked by Judge Karen Laguercio, is this true that you threatened to shoot Mr. Houlihan? Wasn't on the record, but he said yes. And I have recordings of conversations about this. And Judge Laguercio did nothing about my safety of possibly getting shot and threatened to be shot. But what happened was the court officers walked Ryan Reisman out of this building, 2 of them, to his car. I've never gotten escorted to my car for safety. No one cares about the safety of the public. We're the taxpayer, okay? Something has to be done. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Pasquale DeGesu. I'm a military veteran and a veteran with the Department of Defense, 34 years. I was in this court for 7 months, went through $34,000, tried to get custody of my daughter, but it was at a time 10 years ago when that was almost impossible. And my attorney let me know that after I paid her all that money that you're just not going to get custody because mom's going to get it. I just want to say that the problems that we have are deep-rooted in this country, and they are from the lack of due process or the right of due process taken away from us. Every individual in this country has a right to due process. When that's taken away from you, there's something fundamentally wrong. And the problem is the legislature, the lawmakers, the Congress, the people who write the laws. And that is the root cause of the problem, and that's what we should be looking at. When we have no rights, or our rights are stepped on, or the scales of justice are tipped in one direction or the other, there's something wrong. Whether we have the money to pay an attorney, whether we have the money to influence anybody, it should make no sense. Constitutional rights, laws should be given to everybody, penny wise, penniless, rich, poor, whatever. And that is our fundamental problem, the legislature and the lawmakers, and that is my opinion, and thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Michelle Fish. I'm here today because CPS got involved in my case over something that was very minuscule. The biggest reason here is my son. I had a really bad domestic violence marriage where I was hospitalized, and during that hospitalization, CPS lied to me and said that my son was put into foster care and would be returned to me, and they legally kidnapped my son and then put with this foster mom who was going to adopt my son, and I wasn't going to get him back. But thankfully, I fought hard and I got him. Now he's with my mother. But I'm still against CPS because put into the foster care system without mom and dad, without grandma, grandpa, uncle, aunts, with strangers, that's trauma to kids. And you don't know what they're going through. CPS only comes, what is it, once a month to come check on these kids? And these kids are being abused, neglected, and they think they're fine. Because what? Because they have money? Money makes you a better parent? Have assistance for these people. I've seen so many people, their kids taken away for minuscule things. And, one of them, mental health and substance abuse, there's programs for that. But, legally kidnapping, CPS needs to do better. Suffolk County, family court, this freaking court needs to do better. It's just messed up. And I'm here today for all the innocent children that are in foster care, that don't want to be there, that want to be with their mom and dad, that want to be with their uncle or aunt, and are suffering right now. You know, they're suffering, and we're here for those children right now. So, and rest in peace, Thomas Valvo. It was really sad and messed up what CPS failed to do. And they should all be fired, but apparently they got rewarded some reward, and they're still working. They should be suspended without pay.
Hello, my name is Mike Gilligan. I'm a father and retired New York City police officer. And the one thing that I'll tell you is that business for profit is the model here. Justice and fairness, you're not going to find too much of it. The general public needs to be aware of what their court system is doing behind the scenes. And as just an American, it's really important for you to be well versed in at least the pamphlet of the Constitution, to know what your basic rights are, so that you could so you could have an idea of what you're up against. You need to ask questions, you need to vet lawyers, and you need to start treating these judges and lawyers like regular people. But that's where it's at. Justice and fairness you're not going to find in the building behind me. You people out here are we the people that have got to find a way to come together and teach each other the law and combat them in a pro se situation, pro per, whatever you want to call it, before you, especially in family court when you go before a support magistrate. You could do it yourself. I've done it. As a member of Americans for Legal Reform, Gary Jacobs supported me. I actually had an order of protection against me, a temporary order of protection against me that, with their help, I beat and had vacated. And I did it myself. I got to cross-examine my ex-wife. And I still have one more child left in here to take off child support. And he works full-time, making more money than I was at 19. But you're not going to find justice and fairness in the building behind me. It's business and profit. And learn your Constitution. Thank you.
How you doing? This is Mike Houlihan again. So we have about 10 kids here that are victims of Judge Karen Laguercio. They wanted to speak today, but you know they're a little nervous, which we can't blame them, and they're afraid that the court system, judicial system is going to go after them, and that's very understandable. But how sad is that these young kids are afraid to speak because of this animal, this savage Karen Laguercio, who needs to be in jail? All right, so here are some of the victims. They have to cover their faces because they're afraid of what Karen Laguercio is going to do. I had the district attorney's office come to me for an hour begging me to stop posting the truth about Karen Laguercio on Facebook. She sent she's a Gestapo. She sent the police, the district attorney's office, to come talk to me, telling me to stop talking about her, stop spreading the truth. She can't afford to have the truth get out, is what was told to me. How disgusting is that you're abusing our tax-paying dollars to come talk to me to stop telling the truth? But victim 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm going to ask the cameras not go on them, but 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 victims are here. The courageous kids of Suffolk County. They have a voice. They're speaking up. We're not the crazy parents. We're not disgruntled parents. We're happy parents, and now we're even happier that the victims of Karen Laguercio and the family court system is here speaking up. But Judge Hughes, Judge Leo, Judge Joseph are also involved. There's many judges involved in this corruption scandal where they extort money from us. People have spent $750,000 on lawyers, $450,000 on lawyers. It's disgusting. Go get a real job if you have to steal money from us. Thank you.
How you doing? My name is Charlie Schultz. I'm Cameron Schultz's father. I've been in this for over a decade, which is small potatoes compared to some people. I'll be in this fight for the rest of my life. I'm worried about how I'll see my grandkids or how my kid's going to see his kids if he has a kid with somebody like his mother. This very building behind me gave her a restraining order, and she violated one time. I went to the precinct. They had no record of it. Now I have it documented in an app in which we're only supposed to communicate to get him parenting time. She hit me up about child support, so I'm going to go back in this building and see if they'll be held accountable for the words of their own voice and what they put on paper. And if she'll be arrested for violating the restraining order like I was for posting details about the case on my First Amendment rights Facebook page. I was locked up for 3 days. Not Facebook jail, real jail. County jail for writing stuff about the case on my Facebook page, not even hers. The cop that came to get me said he didn't even write on her page. But yeah, something needs to be done. It's nice to see we have a good turnout today of pissed off parents. And if you're not a parent, look up Title 4D. You're paying child support too. I'm just here to try and make some change, do the best I can for equal shared parenting, bring down family court corruption, and give children both of their parents. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dr. Carlos Rivera. I'm a pediatrician from Long Island. I'd really like to thank Carl Lanzazera, Gary, and other members of Americans for Legal Reform for really saving me from this system. It's been a terrible ordeal. About 14 years of my life has now been taken by the family court system, and most of us never thought that we never aspired to get divorced. It happened, and it was an unfortunate incident. But this, as a pediatrician, has brought me to all types of horrors that have involved children that I was never aware of. Parental alienation, child custody issues, Department of Health and Human Services. There's unlimited issues that need to be addressed, and I would like to thank the people here for bringing attention to it and to actually reinvigorating me into speaking out against the destruction that happens to children, like Mike Houlihan was mentioning with the other children there. So for those of you on the outside, please pay attention to the voices of these people. They're not being listened to, but it's a devastating system where the corruption is just unbelievable. It affects people far and wide. Children are suffering, families are suffering, and loving parents' lives are being turned upside down. My instance, 14 years of my life have been taken by this. I try to enjoy life, but you just cannot get away from the system once it gets you in. So please listen to these people, spread the word, and save yourself and protect yourself from the injustices that take place in buildings like this behind me. Take care and thank you.